Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Vine Outdoors. Today, we're going to be going over some immensely helpful public land trail camera strategies that are guaranteed to double, triple, maybe even quadruple your inflow of big buck photos. Okay guys, let's get into it. In today's video, we'll be going over the exact locations you need to be hanging your trail cameras on public land that will guarantee your success, even when deer densities are low and summer bucks aren't moving around a lot. And I should mention, stick around to the very end if you want to hear the #1 misconception hunters make when hanging trail cameras in the summer. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to address 3 of the most common ecosystems found on public land all across the country, especially in the southeast. And then we're going to dive into where your cameras need to be based on your specific environment. We'll be covering pine plantations, bottomland hardwoods, and upland mixed species forests, 3 of the most common deer hunting environments across public land in America. So first up, pine plantations. This is just a general term I use to describe any type of upland forest dominated heavily by pine trees. Typically, pine-dominated forests get a bad rap among the hunting community because they're one of the hardest environments to consistently kill big bucks in, and it can be downright hard to get trail camera pictures of these bucks in the summer. Soils in these forests tend to be very acidic, deer densities are low, and bucks tend to have smaller racks. However, this leads to their being dramatically overlooked. Okay, so I'm going to go over my favorite, tried and true location to hang trail cameras in pine plantation. This is any sort of man-made road. Now, I know this sounds counterproductive at first, but hear me out. Virtually all upland pine plantations or pine forests on public land are laced with roads, usually in the form of fire breaks. This is the most overlooked and singular best spot you can put your camera on these pine forests during the summer. Deer always take the path of least resistance, and especially in summer, when human activity is at an all-time low, even the biggest of bucks are liable to take a stroll on a fire break. This is a proven strategy I have used that works wonders on public land. But hold on, don't go fire up your truck and head out to the nearest fire break. In order to maximize your odds, you have to pick the right spot on the fire break. So stick around. Okay guys, so go ahead, pull up whatever form of satellite imagery you use for hunting, whether that be HuntStand or Onyx or Spartan Forge. I'm gonna go jump on HuntStand and just show you exactly what you're looking for. Okay, so what you're looking for is where a fire break crosses a thick creek drainage. So usually these drainages are full of like ticks and snakes and mosquitoes and thick brush during the summer, so the deer don't usually like to go through them. But they love to travel to edges, because deer are creatures of edge. But what happens if a deer wants to cross one of these ravines? Well, they're going to take the path of least resistance, and if there happens to be a fire break crossing one of those ravines, they will gladly hop on the fire break to get across this ravine. Okay, so let's take a look at the map. Okay, so for starters, let's go ahead and identify some of these drainages or ravines. So let's see, you got this big one running right down north-south. And you can see we've got one jutting off kind of to the west, and you can see there's lots of little fingers on these things, winding and turning and all that stuff. This one kind of takes a turn south and essentially goes right down there. So now we've identified some of these drainages, let's go ahead and drop a couple pins in some likely looking areas. So for starters, we got that one right there, big and obvious. In fact, if a deer was to get across that, it'd probably be swimming. Other than if it takes the fire break. And then we got this, there's less obvious one right there. Okay, so now let's zoom in on one. So we're just going to pick this one and just take a look. It looks like there's actually a food plot that they planted right over there, so that might make it even better. So let me real quick show you the paths deer are going to be traveling on. So obviously you've got deer traveling the edges. And then you've also got deer that are traveling the edges, and then they get to the fire break and they're like, well, now is my perfect opportunity to cross because my bedding area is on the other side. So they might cross. And of course you've also got deer on the other side that are coming, and then they're like, oh, I want to get to that side, so you got them going that way. And then finally you have the old buck that is just doing things the easy way, and he is just trotting down this fire break and keeps coming and stays on the fire break the whole time. So that is him right there. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is pop your trail camera right smack dab in the center of all this. Right about there. That, my friends, is the ultimate trail camera location of pine forests. Now real quick, if this video has been helpful so far, please hit that like button. That'll boost our videos in the algorithms and really help us share these incredible strategies with more fellow hunters. Okay, back to it. We're moving on to our next ecosystem commonly found on public land, particularly in the deep south and southeast. Bottomland hardwoods. When I say bottomland hardwoods, I mean something like this scenario. Big, thick hardwood trees, usually oak, maple, ash, cypress, cottonwood, willow, sweet gum, holly, sometimes even persimmon. Depending on the scenario, sometimes there is a lot of understory, as in this case, and other times there's less understory, like this. So first, let me give you a quick pointer on general trail camera placement in bottomland hardwoods, and then I'll go over my favorite spot to put trail cameras in bottomland hardwoods. So as I mentioned earlier, some parts of bottomland hardwoods have more understory, and some have less understory due to heavy shading from the canopy. Typically though, deer like to hang out in areas where there's more understory, because this gives them cover and forage. When given a choice, always hang your cameras in spots where there's more undergrowth, or even better, hang it on an edge where undergrowth borders areas of less undergrowth. Okay, now to my favorite spot to set trail cameras in bottomland hardwoods. The creek crossing. Nearly all bottomland hardwoods are the result of one or more small rivers or drainages that frequently flood. Find one of these creeks, it doesn't even have to be that big, and hang your trail camera there. Essentially all creeks have trails on both sides of them, running parallel to the creek. Now, your job is to find a trail that runs perpendicular to the creek, crossing the creek, and hang your trail camera so that it overlooks all three of those trails. The trails on both sides of the creek and the creek crossing. This spot is an absolute no-brainer for summer buck activity because the damp ground around the creek fosters more plant growth, and deer just love to hang out in the cool shade of a little creek bottom. Creek bottoms are the ultimate triage of big buck habitat. Secure bedding, abundant water, abundant forage, not to mention cooler temperatures. Additionally, you have the chance to get some really cool other wildlife in these type of areas. Creek bottoms are really diverse. Beavers, hawks, woodpeckers, ducks, bobcats, predators, coyotes, raccoons, possums, you get the point. There is lots of wildlife to be had in creek bottoms. Finally, on to our last ecosystem, an upland mixed forest environment. This is quite a broad one. Some of these environments are a mix of pine and hardwoods, others are just hardwoods. Some are flat, others rolling. In short, this is a really broad ecosystem, but it's also a common one, and thankfully for you, there are plenty of spots in this type of environment that concentrate deer. My #1 trail camera location for this area would definitely be some sort of road, whether that be an ATV trail, WMA maintenance road, old logging road, fire break, or just some other gated 2-track. But I already covered this situation earlier in my video, so I'll talk about some other awesome areas in a mixed species forest. One such area would be a logging cut. Deer absolutely love logging cuts. Especially in the 4 to 6-year-old range, logging cuts provide food and cover all in the exact same place. I'd recommend finding a likely looking clear cut and then putting those boots on the ground by walking the perimeter, or at least a section of the edge of these cuts. Find a good trail, logging road, or draw leading out of the cut and place your cameras there. If your environment consists in more rolling hills or even steeper territory, then opportunities are even more bountiful. Saddles, draws, ridges, points, benches, they should all have their place in the summer trail camera strategy. However, a quick pointer on terrain features, they're not all created equal. I'd recommend finding a terrain feature that funnels deer in an area they are already traveling heavily. For example, let's say there are 2 clear cuts, half a mile apart, and a big ridge right in between. Finding a draw or saddle that makes crossing the ridge easier on the deer would make an awesome trail camera spot because deer are already traversing from one clear cut to the other clear cut. Don't just assume that because there's an awesome looking saddle in a ridge, deer are bound to use it. While this is more true in the rut, when bucks are covering an incredible amount of ground, in the summer, a deer has really got to have a reason to move, or they simply won't. Okay, so now, the moment you've all been waiting for. The #1 misconception that hunters make when hanging trail cameras in the summer. It is that they think that the farther back, the better. When bucks are in their lazy summertime routine and receive little to no human pressure, they will gladly walk the same roads you walk to get into your hunting areas in the fall. Of course, this all changes when hunting season rolls around, but in the summer, there is no reason to trudge back 3 miles into Old Skunk Hollow to grapple with snakes and clouds of mosquitoes when the bucks are probably bedded in the shade of your truck. The name of the game in summer is simply learning what bucks even exist in your hunting area. But chances are you're not going to get to shoot these bucks in the same places that you get summer trail camera pictures of them. Unless, of course, you have a really early opener. Bucks love to travel logging roads, gated 2-tracks, and fire breaks during the summer. So never, never overlook what's right under your nose. Well guys, that is a wrap for our summer trail camera strategy guide. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider hitting that like button and maybe even share with a friend who could use some help finding summer bucks. And if you want more quality content, please subscribe for more how-to videos that will revolutionize your hunting strategy. As always, feel free to reach out in the comments or by emailing thevineoutdoors@gmail.com. That's thevineoutdoors@gmail.com. If you have any topics you want us to cover in future videos, questions about our hunting or trail camera strategy, or even some awesome photos of velvet-clad bucks, please send them our way. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you. God bless.